Hey guys, what's up? Today we're gonna take a look at the 25 best-selling JRPGs on the PlayStation. This means we'll see the ones that sold the most physical copies in the entire world. And this is gonna get crazy because there will be no Final Fantasy titles, otherwise they will be the first places of the list on every single video, on every single console almost. Anyway, this is gonna be very interesting, so let's begin! Coming in at 25, we've got Wild Arms 2, also known as Wild Arms the Second Ignition. And this is a surprise considering this game got sort of like a lukewarm reception in the entire world, even in Japan. But still, it managed to make its way to this list. Wild Arms 2 sold 670,000 copies worldwide. And I don't care what most people say, I belong to the minority of gamers that think that this game is better than the original, but of course that's just my opinion. Coming in at number 24 we've got Suikoden II, and yes, I know exactly what you're thinking. This game is on the list, it's one of the 25 best-selling JRPGs on the PlayStation. Suikoden II sold 680,000 copies worldwide. But let me tell you that 90% of that number comes from the sales in Japan. In North America, there was only like 150,000 copies sold, which is the reason why this game became so rare and so expensive nowadays. Coming in at number 23, Chokobas Dungeon II. Well, the first one never came out of Japan, and it sold a hell of a lot more. But the second one, that was the one that was localized to North America, and between both countries it sold 700,000 copies. Can't believe a roguelike RPG based on a single animal from the Final Fantasy series sold so damn much worldwide. Coming in at number 22, we've got Valkyrie Profile. Valkyrie Profile, once again, most of the sales come from the Japanese physical version. This sold 710,000 units worldwide. And it pains me to say that not even 100,000 of those numbers are from North America. Yep, Valkyrie Profile, believe it or not, was a best-selling JRPG, in Japan at the very least. Next up on number 21, Tales of Eternia. This was released in North America as Tales of Destiny 2, even though there's a real Tales of Destiny 2 on the PlayStation 2 that never came out of Japan. I'll never understand why they changed the name. I mean, what's wrong with Tales of Eternia? Anyway, this game sold 810,000 copies worldwide. And at this point, it shouldn't be a surprise that most of the sales come from Japan, because this game is rare nowadays for a reason. It didn't even sell 100,000 copies in North America, which means back then this was a hidden gem of sorts. Number 20 goes to Mega Man Legends. And yes, I know some of you will say this is not an RPG, but I played the game and I think it's an action RPG. I mean, there's strong RPG elements in there. Anyway, whatever the case, Mega Man Legends sold 830,000 copies worldwide. And this is an exception because, believe it or not, most of the sales, ironically, come from everywhere else except Japan. Coming in at number 19, we've got Vagrant Story. So this was a Squaresoft RPG, co-developed by the creator of Tactics Ogre and Ogre Battle after he left the company Quest, Yasumi Matsuno. This game sold 870,000 copies worldwide. That's a very good number. I was expecting a little bit more considering the popularity of the game, but I guess it just wasn't that popular, was it? Number 18 goes to Saga Frontier II. Wow, that's a hidden gem. That's a game that most people outside of Japan didn't really play. But there's something you don't know, and that is the Saga series has been extremely successful like the entire time since the late 80s in Japan. So, hidden gem or not, this one sold 940,000 copies worldwide. Hard to believe, yeah, but you know, most of the sales come from Japan. Coming in at number 17, we've got Wild Arms. That is so cool, man. I didn't expect this game to be here in this list with a bigger number than some of the games we've seen so far. Wild Arms, the physical copy of it, sold 950,000 copies worldwide, almost 1 million. So yeah, for the people saying all the time that this is a hidden gem, I don't think so. It's more like kind of forgotten or underrated RPG because it was a cult classic, and back then it was famous, it was popular. The start of a series, Wild Arms. Number 16 goes to Legend of Legaia. Oh yeah, this one outsold Wild Arms for 30,000, which means Legaia sold 980,000 units worldwide. Once again, just like Wild Arms, this is more like an underrated forgotten gem, never been a hidden gem. It sold well, almost 1 million, and the sales are combined between Europe, North America, and Japan, which is pretty cool. Number 15 goes to Legend of Mana. Oh boy, yeah, another forgotten, underrated RPG on the PlayStation. But back then, just like Legaia, just like Wild Arms, even just like Vagrant Story and Saga Frontier II, was very popular. Of course, it didn't sell as many copies as Secret of Mana, but it still reached 1 million copies sold worldwide. This is one of those cases, once again, where most of the sales come from Japan, but still it sold fairly well in North America. Legend of Mana, 1 million copies, that's amazing. Coming in at number 14, Breath of Fire 3. This one is actually a tie with Legend of Mana. I couldn't find any other accurate info that says it sold a little bit more. So just like Legend of Mana, it sold 1 million copies. I can't believe it sold a hell of a lot more than Breath of Fire 4, which is my favorite. Breath of Fire 4 only sold 560,000 copies worldwide. That is so sad for a game like that, but Breath of Fire 3, at the very least, reached the milestone. Coming in at number 13, Tales of Destiny. Tales of Destiny sold 1.04 million copies worldwide. Most of the sales come from Japan. I've been saying that the entire video, but it shouldn't be a surprise anyway. Tales of Destiny didn't even sell 100,000 copies in North America. It sold really damn good in Japan, but outside of it, nope, it was a commercial failure. Yes, sir. Coming in at number 12, we've got Ark the Lab 2. Yes! Believe it or not, and I know what you're gonna say, this is a Japan-only game, but not exactly, because Working Designs localized all 3 games, plus the spin-off, in Ark the Lab collection in North America. That collection sold very poorly, sadly, not even 100,000 copies, but hey, 1.05 million copies sold in Japan alone. And if we add those 100,000 from the Ark the Lab collection, well, you get the idea, you do the math. Ark the Lab 2 nowadays is more of a hidden gem because, like I said, it didn't sell very well at all actually outside of Japan, but there it was a huge commercial success. Number 11 goes to Star Ocean: The Second Story. This amazing game, the best Star Ocean in the series in my opinion, sold 1.1 million units worldwide. That is fantastic, man. And it's interesting to see that most of the sales are combined among all the countries around the world, which is pretty interesting, right? Anyway, Star Ocean: The Second Story, number 11. Coming in at number 10, Ark the Lab, the first one. Once again, it was a very gigantic commercial success in Japan. These games were big there, man. Outside of Japan, yeah, commercial failure, sadly. Ark the Lab, the first game, sold 1.11 million units in Japan alone. So I guess you could say it sold in reality 1.2 million if we include Ark the Lab collection by working designs. Nevertheless, it's very impressive that Ark the Lab, a game that is highly underrated and unknown nowadays, made it to the first 10 games in this list. Number 9, Brave Fencer Musashi. Wow, I can't believe it. This game once again nowadays is more of a hidden gem than anything, but back then it was really popular, especially in Japan, considering most of the sales once again come from there. 1.14 million copies sold worldwide. This one did fairly well outside of Japan, but it's like 70% of those sales were in Japan. Brave Fencer Musashi, it's a good game, but nowadays it's kind of forgotten, sadly. Number 8 goes to Parasite Eve 2. This one sold 1.2 million units worldwide. This one got big numbers in North America, which is interesting considering it's a game that I always considered as mediocre. I mean, this is not a good sequel in my opinion, it's not a bad game at all, but it just didn't deliver as much originality and fun and horror and all that jazz the first game had. So hard to believe a game like this sold 1.2 million units worldwide, but hey, Parasite Eve, I guess the name alone helped out a lot. Number 7, Saga Frontier. Oh boy, I guess you're shocked, just like I was when I found out this game that I hate sold 1.3 million units worldwide. Obviously, most of the sales come from Japan, but still, number 7, Saga Frontier, a game that's more of a hidden gem for a lot of people nowadays, underrated. Like I told you before, the Saga series has always been ginormous, like huge in Japan. Outside of it, they're all like hidden gems or underrated or forgotten or whatever. Saga Frontier, Jesus Christ, number 7. Coming in at number 6, we've got Xenogears. It sold 1.3 million units worldwide, and that's pretty amazing because Xenogears to me was a before and after, one of the most historically important JRPGs, and those numbers are shared among North America and Japan because, as you already know, this game was never released in Europe. Had it been released in Europe, I wonder if the number will be much bigger. I'm thinking it definitely would have been. Coming in at number 5, Digimon World. This one sold a little bit more than Xenogears and Saga Frontier, but still on the 1.3 million units worldwide. It shouldn't be a surprise, I mean it's like Pokemon, not as big as Pokemon of course, but it was a competition, so yeah, number 5, are you surprised? Perhaps you shouldn't be because it makes perfect sense. Coming in at number 4, my favorite RPG, my favorite video game of all time, Chrono Cross. I'm so glad to say it almost sold 2 million, it didn't reach that milestone, that second milestone, unfortunately, but combined with the greatest hits version, this one sold 1.7 million copies in the entire world. Or should I say only in North America and Japan? Seriously, if some of these games have been released in Europe, I think the numbers will be much higher, don't you think? Chrono Cross, I wish it could have been released in Europe, but nonetheless, it sold 1.7 million units. That's amazing. Coming in at number 3, we've got The Legend of Dragoon. Well, this one is a fan favorite, it shouldn't be any surprise, it was very popular back then. Then Sony kind of forgot about it, but nowadays fans remember this game pretty well. Anyway, this great turn-based RPG sold 1.86 million units in the entire planet. And that is very interesting because you know the story, this game sold poorly in Japan, not even 100,000 units at the beginning, which means 80% of the sales come from Europe and North America combined. Coming in at number 2, we've got Parasite Eve, the first one. This masterpiece, survival horror RPG, real-time action, whatever you want to call it, this great game sold 1.9 million units. Damn! Almost hit the second milestone. People found out it was just a masterpiece, an amazing game, and everybody wanted to play it back then. 1.9 million, that's a hell of a number. Number 1, Dragon Quest VII. Like I said at the beginning, there weren't gonna be Final Fantasy games here, so what's the second most popular JRPG franchise in the world? Without counting Pokemon, that is? Dragon Quest. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that this game sold 4.3 million units worldwide. Ironically though, most of the sales come from Japan, because Dragon Quest back then just wasn't as big as it is nowadays in the entire world. Back then this game was not exactly a hidden gem, but more of an underrated RPG and kind of flew under a lot of people's radars. Nonetheless, it is the first place in this list with 4.3 million units sold in the planet. My god, Dragon Quest VII, everybody. Alright, those were the 25 best-selling PlayStation 1 JRPGs in history. But before you go, here are the numbers the Final Fantasy games made in sales. Thanks for watching and see you next time.